Hey everybody, it's Michael again at Arcade 92, and I've got an exciting one today. At least for me, it's extra exciting because it has a lot of sentimental and personal meaning to me, and that happens a lot of times too when we see our guests come in the door. Some people look at some games and they don't have any kind of like emotional reaction to them, but they'll spot one specific game across the room. And we've had grown man cry in here. So that is, an environment that I absolutely love to have, to bring you guys back to younger and perceived more simpler times in life. So that's why this place exists. So when I created Arcade 92, this is one of those things where I jokingly say that some people have a midlife crisis and they buy a sports car. I started collecting video games that I remembered from my much younger days. And then I realized that was much bigger than me, so that's where Arcade 92 came from. And the name Arcade 92 is a reference to 1992, which is one of the most pivotal kind of turning points, so to speak, in the video game industry that gave us the multi-billion dollar industry that we have today. So, but let's not talk about today. Let's talk about 1987. So, an Atari 2600 was my first video game system to have, but this bad boy was the first one that I bought new. So we're gonna do an unboxing video. I usually think these things are ridiculous, as it blows my mind as I see the popularity of an unboxing video. But we're doing an unboxing video that's like a time machine. So this is an original in the box Nintendo Entertainment System, NES. That's right, NES, not NES, from 1987. So this is the same one that I had back in 1987, a long time ago, and we're gonna open this bad boy up. If you've ever seen some of my videos before, there's a lot of history stuff, so if you find that interesting, you're going to absolutely love this video. If you don't like the history stuff, this is gonna be super boring for you. So, as I got Cubert talking behind me, just ignore Cubert. Let's jump right into it, because we're actually gonna spend a bit of time, it sounds weird, on the outside of the box before we even get into the inside of the box. So, let's do this. I'm super pumped about this. Okay, this is the NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System, not the Nintendo video game. To take that a step further, it is the control deck, not a video game. Why in the world are they using some bizarre language and not just saying video game? And the reality of it is, this made it to the United States in about 1980. It was announced in 1985, it was released in 1986. 3 whole years after. This was very common over in Japan. Over in Japan, they called it the Famicom, which was kind of a bridging of words of the family computer, right? So we're gonna flip around to the back right here, and this was the goal. So I know you guys can't see it too well, but this was the intent of video games. It was the intent for families to get around and play together. So you see like the two kids, mom and dad, perfect little family, Norman Rockwell painting. This is what it was supposed to be, like a family activity, just like you'd play Monopoly together, Scrabble, build a puzzle together. The family was supposed to play video games together. Okay, so here's a problem. In 1983, Americans hated video games. They thought it was the dumbest thing ever. Where that came from is the arcades experienced what's called the golden age from 1978-ish, 1979 to 1983. And the arcades started falling apart in 1983. The reason why is because the Atari 2600. What a great opportunity to play video games at home. The difference was the graphics were terrible and nothing like the graphics and the quality of game that you would find here at an arcade. But by the time the damage was done by Atari, it was too late for the arcades. So most of the arcades in the country were completely out of business by 1983. Atari continued to allow garbage video games to be produced. So where even Purina Dog Chow had made their own video game. These games would cost $50, $60, $70 at the store. And while the graphics on the front looked amazing, in reality, when they got it home, it was just a triangle chasing a circle. So eventually Americans started throwing their Atari 2600s or whatever version of Atari in the trash can. They were frustrated. They think that Atari deceived them and took their money. By that time, people were willing to go back to the arcades for the better graphics and better quality, but it was too late. They were almost all gone. So even though this, or a version of this, existed in Japan in 1983, the United States was not ready. But in 1985, Nintendo of America wanted to give them a shot and released the Nintendo, not video game, because everybody hated video games, they don't like the word video game, the Nintendo Entertainment System, the control deck. So we're going to read this through here. So it delivers high resolution graphics, plays a complete library of Nintendo games, zero resistance, fast front loading. Okay, so we'll break that down a little bit. So again, one of the first thing they led off with is that this had high quality graphics. That was the biggest complaint about Atari, is again, the art on the outside of the box looked amazing, but when you get home and plugged it in, it was terrible. Okay, so Nintendo, as we're gonna see here in a moment as we open the box, was being brutally honest with the quality of the graphics that were available in the games. They wanted you to see on the outside of the box exactly what you're gonna experience when you got home. Precision engineer controller for instant reflex action, okay? We went from the Atari with one stick, one button, you know, with the red button, if you remember that. So now we have the directional D-pad, which was the stick. Even here, we have an Atari that we have here. The stick always breaks. People are too rough on it. Two buttons instead of just one, and also a select and a start button. So that kind of changed everything. So I want to open this up, which is really exciting. And one thing I want to show you too, and I promise I won't make this an hour long, I promise. The original KB Toys sticker is still right here for $89.99. So in today's dollars, that'd be about 200 bucks-ish, like when you're dealing with inflation. When this originally came out, it was $199, which would have been closer to around $450 to $500 in our current money today, after being affected by inflation for that amount of time. So that tells us too that this was kind of a late 87, maybe early 88, and it was probably sold around Christmas time, which is when I got mine. So okay, let's open this bad boy up, because there's a lot that I want to show you here. And yes, I'm doing this slowly and carefully. Whenever you're collecting, like, the quality of the box is like a really big deal. And the fact that it still has styrofoam, believe it or not, but if you still have styrofoam, the value goes up significantly. Okay, so here it is. The Nintendo Entertainment System. It's beautiful. And one thing I wanted to show you guys is, so if you've ever seen an Atari or played with an Atari, you take the game cartridge and you put it right on top. The Japanese version of this, the Famicom, worked the exact same way. Nintendo needed to separate themselves from what the Atari was doing. So they did this completely unnecessarily. You have to lift open the lid, put in your game, and then press it down. You know what also does that? A VCR. They wanted this to look like a VCR. Isn't that amazing? So they changed the entire design because they didn't want it to look like a video game. They wanted it to look like what at the time was high technology, was a VCR that people were playing their movies on. So all this, again, completely unnecessary. In fact, if you have one of these, there's many of these models where you could put it in. You don't have to push it down. You just push it in there, hit the start button, you're good to go. It was all just for show to make it look like a high-tech VCR. Okay, another cool thing about this too, if you ever decide to start collecting and get into this obsession like I did, is a lot of times these will be very kind of dingy yellow, especially in the Super Nintendos. They used a fire retardant on there that over time turned all the systems yellow. So to find one that's still like actually gray is amazing. So okay, let me be careful here as I move this stuff around. So be patient with me here. Don't want to break it. Okay. So the other thing I wanted to show you is this is, again, amazing condition, the Super Mario Brothers that came in the box, okay? And the game is actually in here. I'll pull it out here in just a second. But another thing I wanted to show you is how Nintendo wanted to show you exactly what you were going to experience when you got the game home. So this is a screenshot. There's more images on the back that show you what you were going to truly expect when you got home, because that was one of the biggest downfalls of Atari. So, all right, so again, I'm going to carefully open this bad boy up. Condition the box is a big deal, so you want to be careful when you do these things. Okay, so there's the instruction manual in there and stuff. I'm going to leave that in there, but one thing I did want to show you, and this may trigger a nostalgic memory for you, is this black case. Do y'all remember these? These are all over your room. So, yep, so just like such. So again, there's the actual computer board inside there. And I'm sure you've done this, and I'm not going to do it because it's not good for it, is you would actually blow into this thing to make it work. So in reality, I hate to burst your bubbles, but that actually did nothing. The actual thing why you found such a high success rate with that is when you pulled it out and put it back in again, it would reseat the electric connections inside there, and that would usually make it start working again. So the actually blowing in it didn't do anything, but when you pulled it out and put it back in again, that is what was actually giving you your high success rate there. So okay, so I'm going to close this bad boy up again, and I'm actually going to put this back in here in a minute because again I need to do very carefully at that. But this is also in here is the original RF adapter. So this is what you needed to hook up. So plug into your cable, right? Your cable TV, plug into your antenna, and you had to play on what channel, everyone? Channel 3. So if you're old enough to remember that you had to switch it over to Channel 3 to play video games, then schedule your doctor's appointment today. So, all right. So of course the controllers are in here. So, these beauties, love it. Oh, sorry. And then here's the actual antenna adapter as well, if you wanted to see that. So that's where your cable jack went into. AC adapter, all that good stuff. I've got the original instruction manual in here. So copyright 1987. So a lot of fun stuff. You can just kind of look through here. And it's just wild seeing how they were showing you how to use this new technology. And it even shows you like care and precaution. And it tells you not to touch the computer board, and it will actually tell you don't blow in there. It actually tells you not to do that because it's actually harmful. And why I didn't do it right now, I know it's picky, but man, this stuff is irreplaceable, is when you blow in there, little tiny droplets of spit will come out. And when they land on those metal contacts, the little droplets of spit will actually start to create like a corrosion process. So again, it's not like you do it one time, you ruined your game. It's just over time and over the years. That would cause more and more damage. So, all right, let's go back to the outside of the box. Just want to show you guys a couple more cool things on the outside here. Let's see here. So the only place in this entire thing where they actually used the word video game was when they said, free, the most incredible video game ever, go on the spellbinding adventures of Super Mario Brothers. Can you help Mario through 8 worlds and 32 levels to rescue the princess? Okay, so again, it's giving you a very realistic expectation of a screenshot to manage your expectations, right? But nowhere else in this entire box did they use the word video game. Okay, so at the time, remember, this came out after Donkey Kong, after the original Mario Brothers, after Donkey Kong Jr., after Popeye, right? So those were industry giants. Remember, the arcades had failed, and people were, in 1983, 84, 85, wish they could go back to the arcades. So they were reminding people, hey, remember those games that we made in the past? Well, we put those in this now. You can play them at home, and the same quality, same graphics, et cetera, et cetera. So as you can see right here, it says, choose from our extensive assortment of video games, the programmable series, the action series. Actually, let's do this. A programmable series, such things as Excite Bike. Did you know that you can modify levels and create your own levels in Excite Bike? What? Wrecking Crew, Mach Rider, the action series, like Kung Fu, Ice Climber, Super Mario Brothers, which is one we have here, Pinball, Clu Clu Land, Balloon Fight, and Urban Champion. And then the sports series, which would be like baseball, tennis, soccer, et cetera, et cetera. And again, they're using actual screenshots so you wouldn't be upset when you got home. You knew what to expect. But at the very bottom here, it says, plus these arcade classics, the games that made Nintendo famous. The original, Donkey Kong, Donkey Kong Jr., Donkey Kong 3, Mario Brothers, and Popeye, and lots more. So they wanted you to be like, hey, we finally did it right. We know Atari messed up and they botched all the games when they brought them into a home system. We did it right. So buy this system and relive the glory days of the arcade. Plus, we have a whole new gaming library now. So very excited. Now, on the other side of this box, there's one more cool thing I want to show you guys, and then we'll wrap this video up. Look for these amazing accessories and discover more Nintendo excitement. Okay, the Zapper for Duck Hunt, Hogan's Alley, Wild Gunman, and Gun Shoot. You guys remember playing that? So, and I'll have to do a separate video sometime. I'll do this a different time. But ask yourself, how did Duck Hunt work? Right? So there was no receiver, right? Anyways, bounce that around in your noodle. Don't Google it. Try to figure it out. I'll do a video on it later on. Okay, and then this is what's also very interesting. So Nintendo surprisingly had a huge uphill climb, not just for customers, but stores didn't want to carry video games. They were like, heck no, we're not going to sell video games. Everyone hates those things now. So Nintendo had an uphill battle to convince American stores like KB Toys, right, to take their products and try to sell them, right? So Nintendo did two things. One major thing is they said, look, whatever you don't sell, we will buy back from you. That was a big deal. That removed a lot of the risk, okay? But then another problem came in where businesses were like, well, we don't want to be associated with video games in any way, shape, or form, so we don't care if you're going to buy them back, okay? Now, if you were marketing a toy, then we would be all in. And the brilliant guys over at Nintendo were saying, say that again. You want us to offer a toy? Sure, we'll do a toy robot. So this was Rob, R-O-B, the robotic operating buddy, the ultimate playing partner. So if you guys had Rob or heard of Rob, not a lot of them were sold. Again, this was a means to the end, right? This wasn't really like one of their best selling points. It was a way to get this on the shelves in toy stores, to market to kids and to market to adults. So, and if you play Super Smash Bros. Today, one of my favorites, he's a terrible character, he's a garbage character, but I love playing as Rob in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate today on Nintendo Switch. So anyways, I wanted you guys to enjoy that with me. What a super cool time. I'm super excited to have something like this. So to clarify, I recently acquired this. So this was one of my kind of holy grail things, is to try to find, there was the action set that came with Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt. That one's really popular, came with the Zapper. There was another one, I can't remember what it's called, but it had the power pad in it. Did anybody play with the power pad? You know, the thing where you had to run on the floor and nobody actually, soon you realized you didn't have to run, you could just get down with your hands and just tap it really fast. But this was the version I had, is the one that came with Super Mario Brothers only. Of course, this was really freaking hard to find because they didn't make a lot that were just like this. They were usually the action sets instead. But I want to give a shout out to Woody over at Dallas Retro Gamers because he helped me actually track this thing down and find it and know that it was a good thing to buy. So Dallas Retro Gamers, they're kind of equally obsessed with home gaming systems as I am with arcade. Of course, I love it all. That's part of Arcade 92 is we have retro arcade games, we've got modern esports, but we have retro consoles here for you to play as well. Atari, Super Nintendo, Nintendo, Sega Genesis, PlayStation 1, and soon we'll have an N64 in here as well by Nintendo. I love it all. One of the greatest things in 1992 is the arcades, home consoles, portable systems, pinball, they all function in this beautiful harmony where they kind of all came back at the same time and created what's more generally the golden age of the arcades was like 1979-ish to 1983-ish, but the golden age of video games as a whole that gave us the industry that we have today can be pinpointed to start with the sequence of events that happened in 1992, including the internet becoming public available and the dawn of online gaming with your AOL dial-up. So, but anyways, this was a hugely important thing for me to find it new in the box. Super pumped about this. I'm super excited to get home and play it. And like our whole motto here is it's time to play again, right? So we exist to remind adults specifically to make time to play. Come relive your childhood, whether it be through consoles, whether it be through pinball, whether it be through retro arcades from the 70s and 80s, like what's behind me, or we have the 90s section from the arcade as well. It's time to play again. So make time to play. It's great mental health, although it becomes its own addiction in itself, to become a collector again. But come experience everything, have a beer over at Arcade 92, and enjoy the 100-ish games that we have for you to relive the glory days. At Arcade 92, it's time to play again.